Good day, and welcome to the meeting of Valencia Lakes Military Veterans Club. We're very fortunate and privileged today to have as our guests and presenters Kelly Colwall, founder and president of My Warriors Place, and accompanying her is Major General George W. Norwood, also known as Nordy by his fellow pilots in the Air Force. There's got to be a story about that, General Norwood. You'll have to tell us about it later. But our meeting today is to talk about My Warriors Place, what it does for veterans, what's going on at My Warriors Place in the current situation with the pandemic, how that affects the club. And for those of you who are watching in the community that aren't veterans and aren't aware of My Warriors Place, My Warriors Place is located right here in Ruskin, Florida, right on the Little Manatee River at 101 22nd Street Northwest in Ruskin. And let me now tell you a little bit about our guests. There's so much to tell. I could spend an hour talking about each one of them, but I'm going to have to be brief. First, let me tell you about Kelly Colwall. Kelly is a Gold Star mother. Her son, Corey Colwall, was killed in action on September 20th, 2009 in Afghanistan, along with Damon Winkleman, who was an Army medic. They were going to rescue some other soldiers that were engaged and had had casualties. Out of that tragedy, Kelly was inspired to found My Warriors Place, and she did. And it's an incredible story of perseverance and diligence in a great cause. Kelly has a business background. She's also become a certified grief counselor. And since about 2010 or 11, she has been building My Warriors Place on the Little Manatee River. And she's going to tell you more about that. But its primary purpose is to serve as a refuge and retreat for veterans and all first responders that may be suffering from the effects of their work as a first responder or as a veteran coming back from overseas in combat. Now, let me talk a little bit about General Norwood. General Norwood is a 1967 graduate of San Diego State. He majored in mathematics, no easy majors for the general. He was commissioned the Air Force ROTC program as a distinguished graduate. He went on to train in an A-1H Sky Raiders, and that's what he flew for over a year in 68, 69 time period in Vietnam. He later flew the F-4 Phantom, and he has over 450 combat missions that he has flown during his time in Southeast Asia. He went on up through the ranks and retired as a major general in 1997 or 98, I believe. He's been active in business since, but his primary interest is really in trying to help veterans. He's been on various different boards, but he became involved with My Warriors Place, and we're going to talk to General Norwood about how he became involved there and what his interest and perspective is on My Warriors Place. And with that, Kelly, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you tell us about My Warriors Place, how it came to be, what it does, and how it serves veterans. And welcome aboard.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. My Warriors Place came about because I realized that through my grief, you could not always plan on having a bad day. You never know when you're going to be triggered. You never know when you just need to kind of unplug from the craziness that's going on around you. I also realized that those coming back from deployments where they've lost brothers in arms, no matter what war they've served in, really needed to have some grief counseling, grief education to help them grieve their losses, especially for those that lost a brother in arms in battle. They have to kind of short circuit the natural grief process, and by the time they get back to US soil and could do the grief work, it's become complicated grief. And unfortunately, there really wasn't much out there for them. And so that set me out trying to create a grief program that really was specific for their needs And it also spurred me to try to find a safe place to be able to do that. And My Warrior's Place does that in spades. So we're very fortunate that we've found this little slice of heaven on the Little Manatee River that we've been able to turn into this fabulous retreat center.
Okay. Well, what is the mission and purpose, if you can kind of sum that up for us?
Our mission is really to provide a safe haven and bring about healing and hope for all veterans, military service members, and our first responders, as well as the families of the fallen. When they come out here, we want them to feel that they're surrounded by people who understand what they've been through, because they've been there and done that. And I think we've really accomplished that with this nonprofit.
Well, Kelly, in reading about My Warrior's Place, I understand that there's almost some miraculous or divine inspiration. Would you share that with us, how you came to conceive of this and get involved in setting this organization up?
Sure. Originally, right after my son died, I actually felt that he was coming to me in various ways. And it actually kind of scared me at first, because I thought I was maybe losing it. But as time went on and he continued to try to contact me, I started getting comfortable with it and realized that there was something he wanted me to do. And it came to be that he wanted me to buy a boat. Now, coming to me 5 nights in a row in a dream, being very specific about me buying this boat and taking out veterans and military service members and families who had endured the loss of a fallen warrior to his favorite places where we used to go. By the 5th night, I literally sat up in bed and pleaded with him not to make me buy this boat, because we used to joke about why they were called boats, break out another 1,000. And I really did not want to buy a boat. But he got his way, and long story short, a miracle happened for me to be able to buy this particular boat. And I started doing boating trips right away. And it was amazing how healing these boating trips were for those that I was taking out. But after about 10 months, that's when I started really noticing how those that, especially Vietnam veterans, Korean War, World War II veterans, were still struggling with their losses. And I, because of my business background, know how important networking is, and wanted to be able to refer them to a grief program. But the problem was I couldn't find one, not one specifically tailored to the veterans and military service members and first responders. And I actually thought maybe it was a military secret at first that they had this grief program, but it was a secret. And so I called a lady by the name of Darcy Sims out in Seattle, Washington, who helped put the TAPS grief program together. And I knew that if anybody knew about a grief program for our veterans and first responders and our military service members, she would know of it. And when talking to her on the phone, she said, no, there is no program, but then she wanted to know what I was going to do about it. And I told her, it's only been 10 months for me. I'm only one person. I'm already doing the boating trips. I have not the credentials that are needed to put one together, and basically hung up the phone and literally broke down and started crying, because I could not imagine seeing on the news where one more soldier had been killed in action, and knowing what their brothers in arms were going to go through, knowing what his family was going to go through. And I jumped on the boat. I went out to Beer Can Island. My son and I used to love going there, finding shark's teeth. And so walking around this island, I was talking out loud to God and to my son, and telling them that I get the feeling they want me to do this grief program, but I don't see how I'm going to be able to do that. And finally, on the third trip around, I said, okay, if you want me to do this, I'll do it, but I need a burning bush sign. And I took 2 more steps, and this wave washed up over my feet and deposited a 3-inch bullet right there at my feet. And come to find out, this bullet was not a current bullet, and it also had been misfired. And this bullet was also used during the Vietnam War in a US sniper's rifle. And my son was a big Vietnam and World War II history buff. So I kind of took that as my burning bush sign. I mean, how else does a bullet get out to Beer Can Island? And haven't looked back. I mean, we immediately got together with some grief experts and put a program together. And then that set us on the journey of finding a space, and another miracle in how we got this space. But it's
How did you find the location, and when was that, and when did you buy it?
We found the location actually in December of 2011, and the gentleman, I actually went to go look at another piece of property that was on Shell Point Road. I thought that if I could find the owner maybe and explain what we were trying to do, he would be willing to cut us a deal. And I went down and was peering in the building, and then heard somebody next door using a circular saw working on their place, and kind of yoo-hoo. And he came out and said, what can I help you with? And I said, do you know who owns this property next door? And he goes, well, I do. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. Can I talk to you about it? And he said, well, wait a minute. I have to take that back. I just sold it yesterday. And I was like, oh, I can't believe that it's gone. And he said, you know, why? What's up? And I said, well, it's kind of a long story. And he goes, I need a break. Come up and tell me your story. So I went up and had a glass of sweet tea with him and told him my story. And he informed me that he had another piece of property right up the road that he felt always had a mission. He just didn't know what it was for. And even though it wasn't in good shape, he thought we might be interested in it, and that if it was cleaned up and repaired, it might be what we were needing. And so he brought me to the property, and he was right. It was in really bad shape. Drug addict squatters were living on the property. They had pretty much destroyed it. I mean, Sanford and Sons junkyard looked better than this place. And so even though it was a big leap of faith to try to purchase the property, he owned it outright. He was willing to hold the note and carry it for 20 years at a 4% interest rate. But he also was no money down. He would pay all the closing costs and would delay our first payment for 6 months. So I brought the board out to look, and thankfully they were willing to let us proceed with buying the property. And so we actually purchased the property in May of 2012, and then rolled up our sleeves and went to work.
Well, I saw that property not long after that, when I first moved down here in 2012. And you had some old buildings there by the river, and it sits right on the Manatee River. But I was over there the other day, and I was over there in other times past, but it's the metamorphosis of that property is incredible.
Yes.
You've got quite a facility there. Would you tell us more about that and what you provide to veterans when they come there?
Yes, we have 4 one-bedroom, 1-bath, fully furnished cottages. We have 2 2-bedrooms. One has 1 bath, one has 2 bath. We also have a brand new 3-bedroom, 2-bath, wheelchair accessible house, stilted, that was just completed in November, that allows us to actually house people on site. And we also have some wonderful amenities such as canoes and kayaks and paddle boats and paddle boards and little putting green and fire pits and an outdoor event area and a dog park. It's truly amazing.
So what do the veterans do? What do you do for the veterans when they come there?
Well, it really depends on them. If they're coming for a specific program, such as our grief program or our boating program, we work with them, getting them out on fishing trips, pleasure cruises, or putting them through our grief program. For those that come and stay with us, I mean, it's what would you do if you were on vacation? A lot of them just really enjoy fishing off the docks, using our canoes, our kayaks. We're here for them if they need someone to talk to. We have licensed therapists that have been there, done that, because they've actually served in the military themselves, that are available with just a phone call if we see somebody struggling. So it's really up to them as far as what they want to do when they get here.
But there are therapists, trained therapists available to help with the counseling and there at the site.
Yes, we do have several that volunteer their time and talent.
Okay. And you have these retreats and refuges for the veterans. Tell me about that.
Yeah, well, just as if you would rent a condo somewhere, that's kind of what you're doing here. They're able to come and stay in our cottages that are fully furnished for just some R&R. And that's basically, when they come here, that's what they want to do. They want to be able to relax and get a good night's sleep. And I can't tell you how many times I've had somebody say, this is the best night's sleep I've had in years. It's just such a very calming, quiet place. And because they do feel safe, they're able to get better rest here. They're able to do things that they normally are not able to do. Case in point, we have a couple and their two girls and his service dog that come twice a year from Georgia, because this is the only place where he actually feels comfortable enough to get out of the house. And his daughters have really been able to bond with him like they've never done before, simply because they can go out and go canoeing or kayaking or fishing. In fact, his wife came to me last time they were down and said his service dog's having a meltdown because he's out with the girls fishing and left the dog in the house. So we know it's working. We know it's going well. And she even said, I just knew he was going to be one of the 22. But due to us coming here, this is what saved him.
Kelly, approximately how many veterans have been using your facility on a per month basis before the pandemic?
Before the pandemic, we were averaging about 1,200 plus a year coming to us.
Okay. And they'll stay for a day or two, a few days, some longer?
Yes, we have. It depends on their situation, whether it's one night all the way up to 90 days, because we do transitional housing as well. We have those when they're transitioning in to MacDill Air Force Base, or they're transitioning out. A lot of times they get caught up in needing 30, 60, 90 days. So we do allow people to stay up to 90 days here. We also have veterans that maybe they're building a house and they've sold their home, and they get, due to construction delays, they get caught in between housing. So they need a place to stay maybe for 30, 60, 90 days. So we offer that as well, besides just coming here for vacation.
Well, Kelly, how do you run this place, your organization? I mean, do you pay your workers, or is it volunteers? How's this work?
We have been running 100% by volunteers. And most of our volunteers are a lot of times ones that have served themselves. They served in the military or law enforcement or firefighters, or they've been married to somebody who served, so they understand the needs of these people coming to us, and they have their passion and their heart is in giving back. I mean, that's service above self is something that is ingrained, I think, in anyone that serves in one of those capacities, whether it be a first responder or in the military. And so this gives them purpose again, that they're able to help others.
Well, no one gets paid at My Warrior's Place. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So it's volunteers. what do you do to raise funds? There's costs, there's maintenance, there's the mortgage, all the other. Somebody's got to pay for the lights. How do you do that?
Well, a lot of it is through fundraising itself. I mean, we do get donations from people that come and stay with us to help us cover things like the utilities and the mortgage. But really and truly, it's been a grassroots type thing where, you know, individuals count for and businesses count for the majority of our funding through donations.
Okay, but now your fundraisers, and for instance, in our club, we haven't had a fundraiser since February, and we don't expect to be able to have one in our clubhouse for this year.
Yeah.
So what's happened to your fundraisers, or what do you have planned?
Well, we had the same thing happen to our fundraisers. We had to cancel everything that we had scheduled, and we have less money coming in right now than we've got more going out because the demand for our services has increased due to the pandemic. We did not qualify for any of the stimulus funding that businesses got. And even though we're a nonprofit, we're still a business because it was all based on payroll, and we had no payroll. So we've really been in a catch-22 in the fact that we've had to cancel the fundraisers. We have no payroll to be able to get the CARES funding. So it's been dicey. I mean, thankfully, there's organizations like yours that have helped us to promote the need for donations, have actually come and given us donations that has been helping to carry us through this pandemic. And the only fundraiser we have actually been able to come up with and do right now is an online bingo that we do twice a week through Facebook. And it's not a lot of money, but for us right now, every penny helps us.
Well, Kelly, we want to help at the Valencia Lakes Military Veterans Club. And we recently had a challenge among the directors, and as you know, made a donation.
Yes.
But we want to help My Warrior's Place because it is a rare thing. It's a gym. There's a lot of veterans organizations, but very few of them do as much work as your organization does and does it without having high overhead and salaries and payments for workers and people. And you don't draw a salary, and the directors don't draw a salary. So whatever donations and proceeds you get actually go towards helping these veterans and you keeping your facilities going. So what I want to do, with your permission, and I know that My Warrior's Place is going to be here, it's going to continue, but you are having a little bit of a tight time in this pandemic. We want to use this as an appeal, not only to our membership, but also to the Valencia Lakes community at large and other nearby neighborhoods to appeal to them to donate to My Warrior's Place. Now, if they want to make a donation, how can they do that?
Well, they can actually go to our website and make a donation. They can go to our Facebook page and make a donation. They can mail us a donation, or they can, which we love, come out in person and hand us a donation and let us give them a tour so they can actually see where their donation is going and what it's going to help us do.
And I would encourage people seeing this video to do that. Hold on a second. Ooh, man, pardon me. Okay, I'm on. Thank you. Sorry for the interruption. I would encourage people to do that. I recently took a tour of it. It was really interesting. Bring your mask, but you can tour there safely and have a nice day outside seeing the facilities. What we'd also like to do, Kelly, is within our community, if they didn't want to go online, or some of the vets don't like to use the services online, write you a check, My Warrior's Place,
Yes.
for whatever amount, $100, $5, $50. And if you write that check to My Warrior's Place, if you don't want to mail it, you can bring it to 16245 Diamond Bay Drive. There'll be a box in my front lanai for My Warrior's Place, and deposit that check. And I'll make sure that every check that we get and any money that gets donated from My Warrior's Place goes 100% to Kelly and My Warrior's Place. It's a phenomenal place. It does great work for veterans. We could go talk on for a long time more, but What else should we know about My Warrior's Place before we move on to General Norwood?
Well, I really think that for those that come out and take a tour, they have to understand, because we don't get paid. Our payment is getting to see the oohs and ahs from people when they come and see it. So I highly encourage people to please come take a tour. I think you'll be really impressed with what's happening, and you should be very proud that your donations are helping to support an organization right here in your backyard that does so much for so many. And we also have a gorgeous outdoor event area that gets used for a lot of different reasons, whether it be for, we've had weddings out here and wedding receptions, we've had celebration of life, funerals out here, we've had various clubs, the Smoking Shields, which is a firefighter and law enforcement group of guys that smoke cigars, and they've come out and used our facility. Southeastern Guide Dog does their veterans graduation class with their guide dogs at our facility, and then we actually will give them a boat ride so their dogs can experience a boat ride for the first time. And if there's any issues, the Southwestern Guide Dog trainers are right there to help them. So, you know, just so much that we do. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but you know, really and truly, this is a unique nonprofit that does so much and just makes huge differences in the lives of those who have put their life on the line for our freedom.
Okay. All right, General, I'm going to put you on the spot here. How did you come to be involved with My Warrior's Place?
Well, I will answer that question, but first I'm going to tell you, thank you very much, Charlie, for hosting this event virtually.
Well, thank the board of directors of Valencia Lakes and the Valencia Lakes Military Veterans.
All right, well, tell them thanks as well. So you and I have had a chance to talk several times by phone. We have yet to meet, but just meeting you virtually here is certainly a treat and a reward. So thank you very much for what you're doing. Also, thank you very much for that very generous introduction. That would have made my mother proud, because she.
Well, I could talk on for a lot longer.
But you wouldn't have recognized the person you were describing, probably. The other thing is that following Kelly and her very compelling story, it's almost like introducing a major general after you've had a Marine corporal talk. You know, I mean, how do you top that, right? So I appreciate what you've done and your organization has done. The military veterans organization over there, the club, I know it's described as an affinity group, and from a legal standpoint, that keeps the homeowners association happy, but it's more than an affinity group, because veterans do share an affinity that's shared by nobody else on this planet. We've all taken an oath to support and defend the Constitution. So to your entire club, I tell them thank you for their service and for this opportunity to talk a little bit about My Warrior's Place. Kelly does a great job telling this story because it is so poignant and it is so compelling. And that's exactly why I'm on the board of directors. Corey was killed 2009, and I met her in 2010. I was attending an event for in support of Gold Star family members, and I met Kelly, was very impressed. And at that time, she already had this this dream of what she could do. And as we go through life, we meet lots of folks, and we just kind of note it and go, that's a great story. I wonder how that story is going to turn out. I continued working on several corporate boards, both publicly traded and privately held companies, and did some work relative to other nonprofits, Boy Scouts, things like that. And then about 3 years ago, as I kind of started tapering off the corporate work and wanted to get more involved to give back, because just like your club does that, you're engaged in we've all been blessed with very lucky and successful lives, and the chance to give back is great. So I started stepping away from there. I got into running a sailing school and a charter and vessel delivery operation. And it's a little harbor, which is right here in Ruskin. So every day I would drive down Shell Point Road and I'd see this sign that says My Warrior's Place. And I went, darn, that's Kelly. I wonder how she's doing. So one day I just couldn't stand it anymore. I pulled in, talked, said I wanted to remind her that we had met at that point, probably what, 6-7 years earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to know how she was doing. And other than working really hard and putting a lot of stuff together, she was executing the dream that she had. And that can convince people around her that, as you've had a chance to meet with her and talk with her, there's no one associated with My Warrior Place that puts in more time, more effort, more soul, more love than Kelly. And it really makes a difference. It captures people around her, and that's why she does have so many volunteers. So at that time, I had earned my 100-ton master Coast Guard license while I was teaching the sailing. And she was running the program, and she said, well, would you mind being on my board of advisors and helping with the boating effort? I said, I'd be honored to do that. So in 2018, I came on her board of advisors. And again, she has a way of kind of bringing you into the effort. And so last year, she brought me onto the board of directors, and I am more than honored to be part of that organization. So that was kind of the flow of how we met quite a while ago and had a chance to re-meet, and now I serve on her board.
How does My Warrior's Place stack up as a charitable organization as compared to other nonprofits and charities that you've seen, General?
Yeah, I think we all know the story of some of the very large, successful organizations that I would never question their goal, their work they're doing. But when we start finding out that the chief executive officer or the director of operations is making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Now we understand they're running a big business and there's a lot of money there that has to be managed and accounted for. But there is, it certainly reduces what actually goes to the recipient, the wounded soul, the wounded warriors, the injured warriors, and others that should benefit from it. And I think those organizations that had kind of the extravagant salaries over time have backed off of that and realized that it's just not the right thing to do, that they need to rely certainly on professional leadership, but at the same time, they need to hold costs down. You don't hold costs down any more than Kelly has, because she has no salaries. And that was just amazing when she found out that she wasn't eligible for any of the COVID funds there because, well, you don't have a payroll. Well, that's right. Well, sorry, I can't help you. So she does really run it literally on a shoestring. The other thing is there's a lot of organizations that are well endowed. They're very sponsored by large industry generosity, and they've got a lot of money to work with. In the business world, we could call it burn rate. I mean, they've got something that they could sustain for months, if not years, and keep on doing the same work they're doing. Kelly runs this operation from month to month. There's probably no one that agonizes more over the bills when they start piling up here, because she has to figure out how do we pay those. And they are paid by the generosity of folks like you and your organization that step up and say, we want to help. It's supported because she's got so many volunteers helping her. And some of the people that are on her board, for example, and I will throw out one name if you don't mind, Philip Mockler, he also runs a program that's called Everyday Heroes. And so he does a lot of fundraising, and part of his effort in turn comes back to My Warrior Place.
That's wonderful. Good.
It is definitely hand to mouth, so it's tough, and she's doing a great job, and we appreciate your support.
Okay. Well, we certainly want to, General, and Kelly, we want to support you. We have, and we're going to do our best to make this appeal to the community. And again, your website is mywarriorsplace.org.
Yes.
You can make a donation online through there. You go to it, you'll see about us, and then you go on down, you'll see donate, and you can do it by credit card, or you can do it through PayPal, or you can stop by, and I encourage you to do that too, and actually see the facility down there on 22nd Street off of Shell Point in Ruskin. Or, and this is important, write out a check to My Warriors Place. If you live in Valencia Lakes, bring it to 16245 Diamond Bay Drive, and I guarantee that I will transport those checks directly to Kelly Kowal to help out My Warriors Place. I want to tell you, it is a fantastic organization. It's very different than any other charitable organization I've seen. And it really helps these young veterans and sometimes often old veterans that are going through crisis and need a place to get away and a place to take refuge. And there are a lot of us in different times in our lives that end up in crisis of one form or another, financial, emotional, marriage, whatever it is. And My Warriors Place has been there for hundreds and hundreds of veterans, young and old. So from the bottom of my heart, if you're seeing this, if you're a member of our Veterans Club or live in Valencia Lakes or one of our wonderful neighboring communities, please donate to My Warriors Place. We want to keep this organization working and going full strength. And as Kelly pointed out, right now during the pandemic, because of the financial stress that's put on a lot of young veterans and others, and older too, there's a greater need for help that My Warriors Place provides. And when these people, the veterans go there, they don't get charged rent. They just donate what they're able to donate, and some often donate anything because they can't afford to stay there. And so there's wonderful counseling programs. They have the fishing program, the fishing trips, the boating things, there's kayaking. It's made to order to help veterans. So please do.